order for Monday, August 22nd. Please join me for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Appreciate that. Chris, since our first agenda item isn't for the poll hearing not till 5:35, anything you want to?
Yeah, I can talk about a couple things. First thing is for the elections that are coming up on the primary on September 6th and the November election on Tuesday, November 8th. In the past, it was the responsibility of the police chief to assign police officers to the polling. Well, under a new election law, it's now the Board of Selectmen who determines how many police officers will be at the election. We've always had one at every election. Does the board wish to vote to have one police officer at both the primary and the general election?
I don't see a reason why there's anything different than we've done in the past, unless someone else does.
No, I think one's good.
Okay.
One it is.
One. Okay, thank you. In front of you, you have a map that calls our current drought status. This is something new that the state is doing. They now have a page on their website that indicates the drought in various regions in the Commonwealth. As you can see, we're at a level 3, which is a critical drought. And I'm sure you're seeing a lot of the signs out there minimizing outdoor water use. Even there, I think in Hadley, there's a ban on outdoor water use. Under a critical drought, that's what you do. You minimize all unnecessary outside water use. Now, part of that comes into, we currently sprinkle the fields at Brown Ellison. Does this board wish us to continue doing so during the drought? Or do we keep going it until the well runs dry? And I know we've had issues with the drought well becoming unprimed because of the low level in it. Or do you want us to stop watering until the drought can ease up a little bit?
Well, how often are we watering it now?
Every day?
Every day. I'd hate to stop watering it, because then obviously the grass will die off, and there's no guarantee that the grass will come back. So if we went to watering it every other day, but can they set the timers that way?
You can probably set it for certain days, do it like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something of that nature. But I don't think you can say one day on, next day off.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I hate to lose that field. I mean, it's in nice condition, and a lot of time and effort and money's been put into it. And I think...
Is there...
Go ahead.
Is there any way to know how fast the well is replenishing itself if
No,
we use it? Does it run dry when it's being used? Do we know?
The problem is Jeremy has to go out and prime it a lot of times, which means that for some reason it's sucking up air after long use, okay? So that's just telling me that the level of the water in the well is getting low.
No, is that a deep well or is it a shallow well?
I have no idea. I don't even know when it...
Shallow well.
Would Jeremy know?
Dave DeRocher said that's a shallow well.
Yeah, so that would be the
It
issue.
has run dry in the past.
Yeah, most of the time your deep wells, not too often they dry out, because they're usually down 200, 300, 400 feet down.
But I do know that from these calls they've been having, they've had 2 this month already, there are some towns where wells are starting to run dry due to the lack of water.
But I'm wondering if they're like this, like at Brown Ellison, if it's a shallow well, because those are known if they don't have a deep water system to it. So
So do you want to set it for 3 days a week, or 4 days a week, or?
I think we can go 3 days a week. I hate to really just cut it off, because I think, and the time was coming up with, the soccer and stuff like that, and the sports, and,
It's probably started already, right?
yeah, and we've, and maybe Jeremy can keep on it too with, eventually if we get some rain once in a while, we could probably take off the days, kind of offset it, pay attention to, when it rains out and things like that. If it rains out today, then maybe we don't need the sprinklers for a couple of days, or something like that, kind of judge it that way as well.
Okay.
But Jeremy's also been, he's been decreasing the amount of time he's watering it too. So instead of 30 minutes, he was doing it for 20 minutes too during the drought. So he's decreasing the time because of the priming of the pump too.
Yeah, it took a lot, an excessive amount of time in the day just priming. It did again this morning.
Yeah.
It took almost an hour and about 60 gallons of water fed into there to get a good prime going before I was able to get it going. But then it did run, and it ran for its full time, so I went back at the end of the day. It's still running, but...
So I'm wondering if there's something wrong with the pump itself versus...
Well, the pump, I mean, if you put water to it, you can get the vacuum. You can test the vacuum on it right there. It has gauges before and after.
Yeah.
So it's pulling. It's just being able to get the water up to the point where it's then continuously running. So either we have low water in there, it's taking so much for it to get a suction, or somewhere deep down there may be a pipe that has an issue. But usually once you get it going, if it continues, then it's not a pipe issue down below having any cracks or any water seepage.
Jeremy, do you suspect it's running dry, or is it just the pump or
The
something?
water is getting a little discolored. That's what usually happens. Like we did go dry last year, so it starts getting milky first, and you kind of get a little tainted, kind of brownish gray color.
Are you seeing that now,
And it's
Jeremy?
milky now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd say it's
We need to cut back.
to that level.
We'll definitely cut back, but the
Yeah.
question is, do we cut back
much?
completely, or?
Well, after the weekend, it has Saturday and Sunday to rest. So maybe on Monday, he can judge where it's at, having 2 more days of groundwater to kind of seep into the well and see how long it takes. Although today was Monday and you said it took 60 gallons just to prime it, which doesn't mean, it didn't have enough time to refill. We got some rain today, so
Yeah, it takes a
maybe not till
while.
Wednesday.
It
I
takes a
know.
while for the rain we get today to get into the...
But at least we won't have to
Yeah.
water it today,
Exactly.
tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, now it's like, what is he
Shane, we're not taking questions from the audience. Sorry.
Would it be 1 day on, 2 days off, take the day?
We can do that. Like I said, we can, next couple, today and tomorrow, supposed to have some rain. And maybe, do it
Thursday.
once in a couple more days. Again, I hate to lose that field. After it takes a while for that to come back.
Yeah.
So, I hate to just kind of, I don't like using the word hate, but as far as just stop watering it. I think if we cut back some, right now we're watering it every day, and I think if we cut that in half, or more so, go to 3 days a week.
We have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, weekends off.
Yeah. And then
Unless it rains, like Glenn said, and then we don't have to water it that day, or then possibly the next day, depending on how much rain we get.
And Jeremy, if you could just keep us up to date as far as, what you're seeing with the pump, and you seem to have more issues, and it start to be prolonged and continues more often, then maybe we'll have to look at adjusting that as well.
Okay.
But-
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
I think Monday, Wednesday,
We're not
Friday's
getting
for it.
rain on those
Yeah,
days.
Yeah.
unless it rains, and then we skip out those days, and we'll, go the next day.
Yeah, I kept it on
Next
today,
Wednesday,
knowing it
Friday.
was gonna get some rain because the ground was extremely dry.
Yeah.
It is sandy and rocky in a lot of, especially the front view. So that's why it really does need water all the time. Keep up.
Why don't we try Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and we'll readdress it at our next meeting?
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Like I said, Jeremy can keep us up to date as to if he sees any other issues that may arise with the pump, and we'll go from there.
Now, Chris, you had mentioned some of the other towns are doing it for residents too. Is that something that we have to look at? Or because people have their own individual wells, we can't really I mean, Hadley does too, but,
there is a model bylaw that they have out there that the town could adopt that would even include private wells, okay? The question just becomes is, do you want to continue using your water to water your lawn and then run out of drinking water? Or do you want to take conservation measures now to hopefully not run into that situation?
I think to myself, I think it's up to an individual.
Oh, yeah, it is up,
You
but...
know, their choice is what, you know, most people,
But you and I know very well that they'll continue to do it, but then when they run out of water, they turn to the town to try and help them out. Okay? Where if they use a little bit of conservation measures, that could possibly be avoided. And that's all I'm saying.
no. And I think if you've been watching the news as of late, that's all they've been talking about is the drought and the water levels and to where they are and stuff like that. So, I mean, you just gotta take a look at some of the surrounding ponds or rivers, you'll see the difference. But I'm not, myself, not prepared to tell people they can't use their well for what they want to use it for.
And I'm not saying that either.
yeah, just use caution.
Yes.
Like I said, we'd have to have a temporary bylaw put in place. And before we do something like that, I'd like to really have the input from the residents in town.
Well, you would have to, because if it's a bylaw, it requires a hearing by the Board of Selectmen anyway.
Right, but
so-
I mean, even to we get that far, I'd like to even...
I don't see the need to go that far.
I don't either.
I think this is an extraordinary year in lack of rainfall. I think if we go 2, 3, maybe 4 years, then you may want to look at something of that nature, but not a 1-year aberration.
Thank you.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. What else, Chris, anything else?
It's 5:30, 5:35 for your poll hearing.
Oh, sorry, we're right by that.
Want to do it?
Sure.
All right, so we will call the hearing for the poll hearing to order at this time. So I'm going to start off by reading the written legal ad from the paper. So as a legal notice public hearing for the town of Granby, the select board will hold a public hearing on Monday, August 15th, 2022 at 5:35 p.m., which was moved to today, August 22nd, 2022 at the Senior Center building located at 10B West State Street, Granby, Mass. to grant permission to Massachusetts Electric Company doing business as National Grid to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public ways. 5:35 p.m., South Street, National Grid to install 2 SO poles on South Street beginning at a point approximately 777 feet south of the center line of the intersection of New Ludlow Road to provide electrical service to new home and for support across the street. Location approximately as shown on plan. Wherefore, it prays that after due notice in hearing as provided by law, it be granted a location for and permission to erect and maintain poles and wires together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary. Said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the plan filed herewith marked South Street, Granby, Massachusetts, 304-70165. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. Your petitioner agrees to reserve space for 1 crossarm at a suitable point on each of said poles for the fire, police, telephone, and telegraph signal wires belonging to the municipality and used by it exclusively for municipal purposes. Copies of proposed plans, South Street, 304-70165, Granby, Mass. are available in the Board of Selectmen's office, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to noon on Friday, located at 10B West State Street, Senior Center Building, 2nd floor. Granby Select Board, Glenn N. Sexton, Crystal L. Dufresne, and Richard K. Ballou. And that was on August 5th, 2022 in the town reminder.
We have, for National Grid representative. Yeah. Sure, if you just come up and state your name, please, as well.
Hi, Lisa Jasinski with National Grid. I'm just here as a proponent of the pools going in. It's really just to provide service for a new home going in on New Ludlow, on South Street, on the very south end of South Street. We'll be installing what we call a mid-span pole for a takeoff pole to go down the driveway with wires, and then one across the street to support that line that goes in.
All right, so is it a new house being
It is,
built?
yeah, new house. It is.
Is that one of the houses in the back, behind it?
It is back. It's like 2 pole lengths back, so it's
Okay.
probably about 400 feet back.
Oh, okay.
Or close to it.
And the other pole,
Right across the street, and it's just going to support the line going all the way down there to where the house is going in.
is there a pole there already?
No, that's part of the petition. One was for the takeoff pole, so we have, on the road, there's a line, and the pole will be set in between, so we have a place to come off of, to go down to it for a 2-pole line extension, but we have to support it with a stub pole across the street.
And that's on someone's property or near someone's
It's on the town take as well.
Town take,
That's also
okay.
here, yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions?
I don't.
Okay.
Do you want to see the plan?
I saw, I
You have
got
it?
the,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm going to open it up to anybody who may have questions. If anybody has any questions, please step up and you can state your name and your address. And if you have any questions, I'm sure we'll try to answer them.
If you have any questions, you can go up there and state your name.
Can you hear her?
Do we hear it?
She just said it's talking about the polls.
Do we have a hearing device?
Well, my name's Laura Lee Robert.
You can come on up and sit down if you would, Laura. Thank you very much. Yep.
You can actually sit here.
I don't think this is working because we couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay.
That actually doesn't work inside here. It just works for the recording, yes.
Well, what we're wondering is, when you're talking about the poles, where will they be? Our pole is on South Street, and it's at the corner where this road goes down to the house that they've built in the back.
Okay.
And our pole is on the corner,
All right, so what is,
our electric pole,
what is your address?
171 South Street.
Okay.
And ours is all underground service to our house from that pole. It goes off at an angle over to the house.
So here's New Ludlow Road.
Yep.
And it's about 700, and so
We're not on New Ludlow Road, we're on
you're on South Street, correct? So I'm just
yeah.
showing where the intersection
Yeah,
is.
right.
And you come down here, and that driveway that goes in
Yeah.
quite a ways back.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be right at the beginning, it's a little strip of land, 'cause they've got a very small space.
Well, our
So-
pole is at the corner.
Right, we're not gonna be
South and going
touching
down.
that, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll be setting a pole, what we'll be doing is we'll set a pole, it's gonna be further south than your pole.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and it's gonna be on the far side of their driveway. If your house is here,
Yeah,
it's gonna
our
be on
house is
the
here.
far side of the driveway.
Over that way, okay.
Yeah, and then we have to put one across the street on the town take to
Yeah.
support the wires going down to their
Yeah,
house.
okay, that's what I wanted to know, where it was going to be.
Yep.
And then it'll go down.
Yep.
Okay.
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 Mr. Roberts, you want to come?
You have a question?
We don't have papers with that on it.
No.
No, that's, you just get the notice to come on in and you can see the papers
Yeah, it's here, to see it.
if you have
I
questions.
understand it now.
And that way she can explain it to you.
Right, so the driveway, that's gonna be where the pole is, the new driveway for the new house.
Right.
It's gonna go this way, your house, I believe, is just north of it.
Yeah, we're right above it, yeah.
Yes,
'Cause the-
so your pole is over here,
Yeah.
the driveway, and then a new pole for their service going
So
down
it'll be
the
on the
driveway.
other side of the driveway.
Right,
What's it gonna
Your side, yeah.
connect to a pole
Okay,
that's
that's what I
across
wanted to know.
the street?
so this pole across the street, there's actually gonna be poles going down to that house in the back.
Yeah.
This pole is to
As a
support all that wire.
As a support,
It's
she said.
just a support pole. So there'll be
Oh, I see.
there'll be a guy wire in between, and then
Right.
it'll be supported.
So you'll be going down the,
But your house is up here, and then the driveway,
How many poles?
2 poles down.
That's all?
Yeah.
The trees will
Yep.
block it like
Yeah.
100%.
I spread them out a little bit more
You
than,
mean this one? And
so, no, sorry, this is the takeoff pole, and then 2 more poles to get to the house, yeah. But it's quite a ways, it's about 175 feet before you get to the first pole.
And what side of the driveway are they gonna be on?
So, say the driveway's here, and the pole's right on the south side of it. And then your house is on the north side. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Is there any other questions? If you come up, sit down and state your name and your address, please.
Yep. Seamus Connolly, 21 Ferry Hill Road, Granby, Mass. I have a question. I live on Ferry Hill Road. Do you have any idea when the date of the construction is, like, I mean, with traffic and everything?
For this?
Yeah, for this.
Well, so Fort Ferry Hill is quite a ways away,
Yeah,
right?
I'm well aware of that.
Yeah, so, first of all, it's pending the approval.
Yeah.
So once the approval comes through, then they call a dig safe in, so it probably would be within 2.5 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's, that gives me a little more time to prepare to tell, someone's coming over to my house, not to go on this area right here.
Right, so, and this is New Ludlow Road, and this is down where the entry, I think, is to the golf course, is that correct?
It is,
Yes,
yes.
I believe.
Oh, okay,
So it's-
by the Granby Bay Shop and over by.
Right, near Westover Golf Course.
Westover Golf Course, so I know.
You won't
You're thinking,
you
I
won't
didn't
even
see
know that
that.
they're
think it's
there.
the other end.
I'm thinking of the other end, I'm thinking of like the East Street one,
Gotcha.
because like I know there's an intersection from New Ludlow Road that goes on to East Street, so then there's,
That's between New Ludlow Road and Westover Golf Course.
I know exactly where you're talking about, Glenn, I know exactly where you're talking about now, I wasn't sure which part of New Ludlow Road it was on.
Yeah, it's actually South
Yeah.
Street, and that's just showing the intersection of New Ludlow, and the golf course is down here.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So like right over here would be, I think, Ashley's, I think, correct? If I'm correct?
I believe there's a little store right here.
Yeah, there used to be the old Ashley store, and there was another store in
So
there.
that's on this corner, and then that's heading down towards the golf course.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions in regards to the poll? No? All right, this time I'm going to close the public hearing portion of it. It's up for discussion for us now.
I'm fine, but I think.
I don't see an issue.
I don't see an issue.
issue either. The butters approve it,
We're the only one
so,
that are butters, yeah.
Yeah.
so I'll make a motion to approve the 2 polls. Well, actually, I have to read the statement. But I'll make a motion first.
Second.
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
So I hereby certify that on August 22nd, 2022, at 5:53 PM, or o'clock it says, at the select board meeting of August 22nd, I guess, at 10B West State Street, a public hearing was held on the petition of Massachusetts Electric Company doing business as National Grid for permission to erect the poles, wires, and fixtures described in the order herewith recorded, and that we mailed at least 7 days before said hearing a written notice of the time and place of said hearing to each of the owners of real estate as determined by the last preceding assessment for taxation along the ways or parts of ways upon which the company is permitted to erect poles, wires, and fixtures under said order, and that thereupon said order was duly adopted.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, folks.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Good seeing you. Go to the neighborhood?
I did.
I wasn't sure what to do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like meeting, yeah. Yeah.
So I think I don't know what it wants from me here.
All right. For 5:45, we have the Granby Historical Association tag sale. If you'd like to come
I
up,
was gonna say
state your
Terry was
name.
here.
and-
Terry Johnson, and I'm here representing the Granby Historical Association, 12 Common Street. We're asking that we are allowed to have a third tag sale this year. We're still doing our capital fundraiser to renovate the Townhouse Museum, which is 200 years old. We came across, as any old building, when you do something, it's painted. It was pointed out to us that we needed some extra things going on. We need a new windowsill. We're looking at still paving a walkway to get in it instead of the bumpy grass, and some railings. So we're still doing that. The economy is bad. Our donations have slowed to a trickle, so this will enhance this campaign. And we're planning on doing it the day of the Dino Fest, which there's a lot of activity in that area, and asking for Sunday also. So that would be September 10th and 11th. We've had two. We had one in the spring and one in the summer, so we're asking for a third in the fall.
Anybody have any concerns or issues with it?
Nope, not at all.
No, I think we're fine with it. Just someone want to make a motion? to
Yep,
approve
I'll
the
make a
third
motion to
tax
accept the Granby Historical Association's third tag sale of this year on September 10th and 11th from 8 to 3.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
No.
No? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and I just want to let you know that the gold-headed canes look phenomenal in the townhouse.
I'm glad
They're
to hear
hanging
that.
on the wall, and in front of it, there's a display case with all of what we have, pictures and newspaper articles of the recipients.
That's awesome.
And Lisa from the COA had a plaque of the ladies that received the gold-headed cane, so she gave that to me, so that's an addition.
Oh, nice.
You guys got to come and see it. We'll be open
Definitely
every
make a
Sunday in the fall.
All right.
Every
Okay.
Sunday, okay?
Thank you,
Yeah.
Liz.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have another signature for this.
So we have a little bit of time. So any citizen participation at this time? No? Chris, did anybody write anything in or nothing? Any of that? No? Okay. Do you have anything else for us, Chris?
I have stuff, but,
All right, well, we got another 15, 16 minutes.
okay. First thing is I got back the contract for the sale of timber from Kennebec Lumber.
Yep.
They are projecting possibly bringing out equipment either late November or December to start the cutting process. Hopefully the ground will be frozen by then, and they can move forward with the contract. The other item is, I filed with Combis today the bid specs for the feasibility study for the dredging of Dufresne Pond. It's going in the paper on August 26th and September 2nd, with a bid opening date of September 14th.
Is that for how they go around and measure the...
Yep, the feasibility
Okay,
study, and
the
it gave the
work.
specs that we wanted to do, yes.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Another item is I had received, after we had posted the agenda, I received the contract for the sealer of weights and measures from the city of Northampton. The amount of the contract is $2,525 for fiscal year 2023. And as you know, the sealer of weight goes around and makes sure that the scales are properly calibrated and all the pumps at all the gas stations are properly calibrated. Anything that dispenses or weighs anything has to be taken care of. So that just requires the signature of the Board of Selectmen to enter into that contract. Additionally, today, we received from the ABCC that they approved the license for Winehouse and Vineyard at Jameson Farm LLC at 16 East Street, Granby, Mass. So we do have a farmer winery pouring license that the Board of Selectmen is required to sign, with the hours of sale being Sunday through Saturday, noon to 9 p.m. Okay? And Glenn, as part of the COVID money that we received from the federal government, we had returned the monies that we did not spend from the monies we received for the period March 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2021. However, there was a form we did not submit, which is basically a certification by the chief executive of the town of Granby, certifying we complied with all the rules and regs of the program. So I'll require your signature on that to close out that whole project. And we received about $50,000 from the feds for that, through the state. On the federal side, we got another $85,000. So.
What was the amount that we returned?
We returned like about $9,000.
$9,000, yeah.
Yep. Keep going?
Sure.
Okay. We do have some Dufresne rentals. We have the cross-country team for September 13th, September 27th, and October 11th from 2 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. for their cross-country meets. They are looking for the cross-country course and the bathrooms.
Is that Granby Cross Country from the
Yep.
high school?
Yep. Then for October 1st, 2022, arriving 8 a.m., departing 2 p.m. It's a youth fishing event by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They're looking for the large pavilion, access to the ponds, and bathrooms. It goes by the acronym of Cops and Bobbers. I think we've had that there either 1 or 2 years in a row. So, I'm just hoping that there's enough water in the pond to be able to allow this event to continue and occur.
Do you know, Chris, do they stop for that? I know
No.
you- No, okay.
No. Then on August 29th, 2022, arriving 11 a.m., departing 4 p.m., maximum number of people 25. It's a get-together. It's for Pavilion Number 1 on the Taylor Street side near the playground. Then, on Tuesday, August 16th, the Granby Firefighters Association held a fundraiser during the concert. They had the area next to the stage near the pavilion. They arrived 4 p.m., departed 8 p.m., and the maximum number of people was $300, or 300 people.
Any other questions?
No.
are we looking to waive any of the fees?
Well, the fire, usually for Dufrane's, we have a nonprofit rate that they get,
Oh, is
which
that what
just
it is?
covers the cost of the gentleman to come open and
They
close.
close it, and that's all we're gonna charge?
And that's
for?
all we usually
Okay.
charge them.
All right, that's fine.
And I think that's around $70?
It is $7, and it's the same thing with the school.
Okay, all right, fine.
Okay, so we don't usually waive the fees, they
It's a
just get
discounted rate, just for the...
They just have to cover the cost that it costs us.
Okay.
For open and
That
close.
makes sense.
Okay.
Yep.
And then it was raised by the town clerk, we have our meeting scheduled for September 6th. That's the primary, even though there's nothing that says we can't hold a meeting that day. Does the board still wish to hold a meeting on the date of the primary? Polls are open till 8 o'clock that night.
I would say move it.
Well, let me look at my calendar, because I don't think I'm available the following Monday, which...
Wanna go later in the week?
You wanna do the 7th?
I can't do the 7th.
Okay. You wanna
Oh,
do...
hang on. Yes, I can.
You can't do the 7th.
I can.
You
We can do the 7th,
You
yeah.
can't.
I can.
Okay, you can't.
C-A-N.
All right. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Kristen? All right.
All right.
So it's gonna be now Wednesday, September 7th.
7th, yeah. Anything else, Chris?
No, I think that's about it for me at this point.
All right, we're going to, a little bit of time, we're going to departmental reports. Everybody have a chance to review them?
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions, concerns, comments?
None.
Crystal, anything?
No, not on the, well, I guess my concern is that some of the departments are not submitting their weekly reports. So I don't know if we get them from some departments and not others, or if everyone's required to do it every week or bi-weekly.
They are
Or we are
required.
missing.
They are required, and I believe, Chris, should follow up with the departments that are not submitting. We should have them. Who's not submitting?
Highway usually does once a quarter, but I can tell you want bi-weekly at least from him.
Well, at least monthly. I don't know if a lot of, unless, whatever you want, Crystal, because I know with the fire department and obviously with the police department, there's a lot more activity that happens, goes on with that versus maybe the highway department. Do you want
We haven't
bi-weekly?
been- Well, we haven't been getting the fire department either. The last one we got was the landfill fire. So,
It's true, we haven't had one. I'll speak to him.
All right, so, we'll follow up.
I'll follow up with the
I think
chief.
just to stay connected bi-weekly
Yeah.
would be nice, but I understand with the highway
Yeah, so
department.
Rick will follow up with the fire chief.
And how often do you want it from highway?
Do you want to go,
Bi-weekly at least
You want
for
bi-weekly?
me, well, for fire
not
department.
for the fire department, for
Okay,
the
you want that.
highway department?
If, I just have never received one from the highway department, so I didn't know what
Like you
his
said, he usually
schedule
does it
normally was.
quarterly or so,
Okay,
Would you like it monthly, just or a week by week, whatever, I mean,
whatever makes the most sense, as long as we're kept up to date at some point, so
you,
if he wants to do
you
it.
tell me what you want.
well, why don't we be consistent with all the departments?
All the departments do it weekly.
You know, so we can get a weekly report, even if it's, one page, or if it's some updates is what's happening, you know, if it's short, that's fine too, we'll just, so we're consistent with all the departments, everybody's on the same.
No, that's fine.
thing.
That's fine.
that work?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, with that said, is there a motion to accept the departmental reports?
Yes, I will make a motion to accept the departmental reports.
Second.
That we have.
There you go. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, moving right along. We'll skip over the maintenance warrants, so that'll take a little bit of time. How about account and vic licenses? Do you have a lot of those? Couple?
We have a couple of them. All right, so we have the common vehiculars license number 2209 for the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, 256 State Street, Granby, Mass. 01033. We are hereby granting a license for entertainment license to provide entertainment, live band, DJs for events to be held on the grounds of Immaculate Heart of Mary Church located at 256 State Street, Granby, Mass. This license is granted in conformity with the statutes and ordinances relating thereto and expires December 31st, 2022, unless sooner suspended or revoked. That's the first one.
Those are entertainment, there's two entertainment and
There's two entertainment? It's entertainment?
Entertainment license, yes. And then the next entertainment license is number 22-10. This is for the Friends of Granby Veterans at P.O. Box 38, Granby, Mass. 01033. It's for a entertainment license to provide entertainment, live band, DJs for events to be held on the grounds of Dufresne's Park located at 32 Kendall Street, Granby, Mass. This license is granted in conformity with the statutes and ordinances relating thereto and expires December 31st, 2022, unless sooner suspended or revoked. And then I have two vehiculars. So we have Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, again, 256 State Street, Granby, Mass. Vehicular license number 22-50. In said town of Granby, in that place only, and it expires December 31st, 2022, unless sooner suspended or revoked for violations of the laws of the Commonwealth respecting the licensing of common vehiculars. This license is issued in conformity with the authority granted the licensing authorities by general laws, chapter 140, and amendments thereto. And the last one is vehiculars license number 2249 for the Granby Firefighters Association, 259B East State Street, Granby, Mass. 01033. So is hereby granted a common vehiculars license in said town of Granby and that place only, and expires December 31st, 2022, unless sooner suspended or revoked for violations of the laws of the Commonwealth respecting the licensing of common vehiculars. This license is issued in conformity with authority granted the license authorities of general laws, chapter 140, and amendments thereto. So two vehiculars and two entertainment.
Is there any recommendation to waive the fees?
Is this another one, Chris, where you could give a discount for them or no? For nonprofits?
No. No.
Okay. And how much is the fee or $50 fee?
Oh, these are licenses, right?
50 for the entertainment and 25 for the vehiculars.
Okay. Any concerns? Questions?
No. We make a motion.
Make a motion to approve?
So, do you guys normally waive the
Wait.
fees for the
No,
nonprofits?
because
Okay,
it's a
'cause
license. I wasn't thinking,
Okay.
I was thinking something different when you read it. so.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to accept the two vehiculars license and the two entertainment licenses to expire on December 31st, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? We're actually just gonna approve them, not accept them.
Are you waiving the fee?
No.
Half of the past calls,
That's what I just asked, and they
Chris
said
said we
for a
do know for
license,
this.
we don't.
you do want to know the church.
The firefighters?
So we, okay. And I know some of the, in the past, some of it came up, so the license that we can't waive a fee on, Chris? All right. So
We should waive the fee.
I would waive the fee for the church and the firefighter association.
Okay, perfect. I agree. I think we should waive the fee as well.
So we're gonna, you okay with that too?
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna have to amend,
What about the
well, what's the other one?
veterans?
I didn't hear the veterans, I apologize, well,
Yep, we have the Friends of Granby
Okay,
Veterans,
well,
Immaculate Heart,
what's your chance
and
to
for
speak
Granby
up?
firefighters.
I go, wait a minute.
So we have all
You mean
three.
to our veterans?
I'm not mean to our veterans.
So we are waiving the fee for Immaculate Heart of Mary, for the entertainment license, and for the vehiculars license. We're waiving the fee for entertainment for Friends of Granby Veterans, and we're waiving the fee for Granby Firefighters Association common vehiculars license as well. So that's what we're waiving.
Very
So I'll
good.
make a motion to waive those for those three.
And I'll second that motion.
So any further discussion? All right, all in favor of approving them and waiving the fee?
Aye.
That's right.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, that gets us to our 6:15 mark. And we have the, for West Street School, interested parties, the discussion in regards to that.
I'm sorry?
Well, we can hear you.
Hello. So I'm here as a spokesperson for a group of concerned citizens who are sitting in the back with me regarding West Street School. I gave you a handout, which is pretty much what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. Back in 2018, when we vacated the school, a study had been completed, and the recommendation at that point was to raise West Street School and to build in 2 phases, 2 buildings, a town office as well as council of aging. And that was approved by the selectmen at that point, and then nothing happened from that point forward. So since 2018, we have a building that we've been paying insurance on, yearly $23,000 approximately. We haven't used the building. Our maintenance department has thoroughly cleaned the building, so it's in much different shape than it was when we left it in 2018. So I guess we're here to ask you, can we revisit West Street School? Can we either use it and start renovating it, or complete or fulfill what was suggested back in 2018?
Well, I know this came up some time ago, and where I was on it is that I wanted to bring it to the town floor, let the town vote on what they want to do. Because either whatever happens with whether, you know, we look at taking the structure down, or we look at refurbishing it to use for certain things, it's going to cost a great deal of money.
Right.
And I know earlier we had talked about doing maybe a study to see what it would cost to do either thing. And I think that's important for the town to understand what it's going to cost to do that. And they should be, I didn't feel the select board, for myself, should sit here and make that decision for what the outcome should be for the future West Street School. I think a lot of people have a lot of thought and a lot of interest in that school. And I know there was a study that was done on it, and I remember reading the study, and some people thought that the school should have been torn down and look at using it for something else, or rebuilding a new school, or not a new school, a new building, a new complex there. And again, either way we look at it, it costs a great deal of money. I don't feel for myself that that's my decision to make. I like to have the people that are going to pay for this have the opportunity to listen to what the options are.
But isn't that what
Given a choice.
But isn't that what a committee does? They listen to the options, and then they present it to the select board, and the select board decides whether or not to accept the recommendation of the committee, and then you bring it to the floor of town meeting to have town meeting decide, yes, they want to spend the money on whatever that recommendation is?
my take on it is that what it would cost today to do either project. And I don't think it's fair to decide what we're gonna do with it without knowing what it would cost. And to repurpose the school and use it as the senior center and town offices, what would it cost to do that?
Well, I know the costs that we have from the study in 2018, but I also know that one of the citizens in the group had a walkthrough with Jeremy in the maintenance department, and I believe it was Henry, if you want to speak up to
Sure.
the costs of renovating.
Come forward here.
My name is Henry Clement, and I live in town here.
Yes.
And I'm a commercial contractor, and we do a lot of repurposing of buildings. And so what we look for in something like this is we look for structural soundness, we look for, parking being addressed in a building like that, and then, we look at like what can be done with it and how many phases it can be done in. And Jeremy was nice enough to take me for a walk through the building last week to take a look at it. And, it's in pretty good shape, honestly, and the build-out, I mean, there are obviously HVACs, there's a plethora of things that have to be addressed there, right? But you have a basically sound structure, and you have a building that can be built out pretty easily. You have no ADA complications there. Everything is accessible in that building. That's a big plus. So it lends itself in a certain way, I think, to the kinds of use that the committee here is thinking of. But tearing it down to, and I know what you're saying, it's a ton of money either way, and I get you completely on that. But so I just think that for the price of tearing it down and building new buildings in its stead, I think it would be advantageous to try to repurpose the building as it sits there. It has a lot of pluses going for it as it exists in that spot. So fundamentally, if you're looking at tear down and 2 replacement buildings or 3 replacement buildings to duplicate what you could get in the 44,000 square feet that's in there, the price point is going to end up being pretty close, I think, and you're not going to be tearing down something that is reusable, basically, which I think would be sort of tragic. I mean, it's not the most attractive building in the world, surely it's not, but it's very functional. And I think it could fulfill a lot of needs that we have here, like a town hall and a senior center. And it could have another component to it. I mean, it has more square footage in it than those 2 functions would need. Could be a commercial component at one end of it. There's a stage in there.
Recreational use.
Store, or some kind of a senior store in there, or senior store complex in there. I don't know. I think it has a tremendous amount of potential. I mean, it does. At the end of the day, it comes down to, does the town want to, in any way, shape, or form, find and pony up $8-10 million? Of course, that's the tripping point.
Well,
right there.
That's just that's just an estimate that you have. We don't know what it costs, and obviously, when we start building or doing construction and stuff like that, it's all prevailing wages, which gets to be costly as well. And again, I say, to me, it's, again, I think, is the town ready to spend that kind of money? And that's what we kind of talked about, here it's 4 years later, building costs has extremely gone up a lot in the past several years. Throughout COVID, they're starting to come down a little bit, but not as much. And that's why I think, to be fair, I think we need to get an assessment on what it's going to cost to do either or. And I think we have to, you can't just say we can go in there and start looking at it. We have to have an architect design what the purpose that we want it for. And how are we going to use it, what it's going to look like, what do we want, where do we want, and the cost, what it would be to do something like that.
Yeah, no,
I agree. I mean, it's a great structure, obviously, and I know the roof is, fairly new still on that building, and something the town's still paying on. But I also know there's some concerns that inside the building is, what is, you can't see. I would say as well. So as you know, as a contractor, after you start getting inside, you start taking things apart and finding things, does that lead to additional costs and things like that? Myself, whether you keep the building, take the building down, whatever the town feel is best for the town, I'll support that. I struggle with putting, if you tell me you can build new buildings for $10 million, but you can also, and I'm just throwing numbers out there, obviously.
Sure.
But you can do the renovation for $10 million, well, I struggle with that. Because I struggle with, you can have a brand-new building for the same amount of money that the other building has many years of wear and tear on it. Yes, it's the structure, everything's good on it, the roof is, but it's hard to put that up against a brand-new building that's gonna, last automatically much longer. Then you get the chance, the opportunity to design how you want to and things like that. But also with that said, there's, you can have an architect come in there and design pretty much whatever you want. I know Mr. Martin talked about before, where you can actually have a skeleton of a shell built out inside it and pretty much do whatever you want on the inside. So you can kind of, different classes, you have the classrooms there, you can kind of, it's a blank canvas, if you will, to kind of think about what you want to do and how you want to do it. And I guess that's where I would be, is what are we going to do? What are we going to use it for? What are the needs for the senior center? What are the needs for the town offices? And to put all that all together, now what's that going to cost us to do? And then to bring that to the town and say, this is what it's going to cost to do that. And, $10 million is a lot of money. And if the town wants to spend it, and it's going to take some additional funding to do something like that.
Agreed. I mean, I can't argue with
No, so that, those are, some of the facts that are tough to look at.
But I guess part of the problem too is that there's an empty building sitting there that we're paying money.
Absolutely, and I agree with that, and that's what, it's...
And we have these two buildings that we're using for town halls that we're also paying, well, we're renting one, we're not getting taxes for this one.
This
So,
could go back in the payroll, right?
yeah, and there's maintenance of both buildings, wear and tear, so we really should start.
I have a
think-
question.
That's come up several times in several meetings with this board and previous boards, talking about it, and the cost that, for what we're paying for rent at the other office building, if you will. And so, yeah, that's all, and we know that our lease will be, coming up in a couple of years, and that's something we need to address. So these are all, I agree with you completely, Lynn, is that we need to take action on it. And I think that's something the board talked about. But again, what is the action going to be is that it's going to cost money. Even for us if we decided, the town decided to tear down the school, it's going to cost money to do that. That's before even, doing whatever with the property. It's going to cost money to do that. And, I know there's been an oil tank in that ground for many, many, many years, and who knows what that may look like as well. So those are things that we need to think about as well. But I'd be, looking at what it would cost us to have, again, what would it cost to tear down the school, and you would have to design something, have an architect design something, look what we could build, and versus what we could do on the inside as well.
Take a sip.
I think that would be, things that we need to look at.
You looked at the building, you're a general contractor?
Yes, sir.
So can we do this in phases? Can we
Yes.
get in there and just do the senior center section of it, take down a hallway? I don't know about building a structure inside a structure, what that's all about, but can we renovate the rooms to make them office spaces?
Yes. You have tremendous spans in there.
It's enough to get this building in there, the other building in there, and take it over, and it's...
I mean, how many square feet are the current town offices using? Let me ask you that.
That's a good question. Do you know, Mr. Martin?
6,000?
It's about 2,600 at the annex.
Yeah.
Here I want to say it's about 4,000 to 5,000.
So 6,000, 7,000 for
Just us two. And it's probably back on the retail market, get taxes back on it. It's a good thing.
I mean, I'd throw my hat at $1.5 million to do that kind of a build out in that scale. And to your point.
What do you gotta do on the inside of it? I wanna see some, your contractor, can we get in there for about that much money to get us in there?
For town offices?
Yeah, what are we gonna do about the HVAC system?
I think that's, well, that'll obviously have to be addressed in phases as well. So
Yeah.
there's a number of ways of approaching that, but I mean, the existing one there is not gonna conform to code as you need it today. But, I mean, I guess a mini split system would probably be one of the ways I would look at doing that, because with the solar access there, you'd heat and cool that building for free and make money.
Yeah.
Would you recommend putting them on the roof or out in the back?
Wherever you want to put them. There's plenty of room for panels there. You could generate a significant amount of income from a solar field there, and with a mini split system that by definition runs off electricity, you'd be heating and cooling for free.
So I know you're guesstimating on the...
Of course.
The mill net, but to get us out of this building, get them out of the building, but, you know, it can be done, and how quick do you think it can be done?
Well, that's the $64,000 question,
Yeah.
because it's the lead time that's going to be the biggest
Right, yeah,
issue
we all
there.
know about the lead time.
I mean, the actual construction part of it, probably about a year and 3 months or something like that to do that kind of square footage.
What do you expect for construction in there besides tearing out the junky windows? What do you expect for construction that you got to do in those classrooms?
We would gut it.
I mean, they can be subdivided, cut up, you know, in any sort of configuration you
Yeah.
want. I mean, you've got that
You don't
big, huge room in the front when you walk in there.
Right, the old cafeteria.
I mean, that's
Floor's got to get covered, obviously.
There's a bunch of different ways that could be subdivided. I mean, that's the beautiful part about it is you don't have to get into any structural reconfiguration of walls there, I don't think. You just build out within these great spaces that you have there.
Yeah, you don't have to gut anything, right? No. You can just go in there, update the windows.
Yep.
Obviously do something with, what about the bathrooms? Those got to renovate it.
I mean, those were all the ADA bathrooms at some point.
Yeah.
And they have now been, you know, they're in tough shape, but I mean, they don't need to be reconfigured, basically just new, you know, new fixtures and bars and all that sort of stuff within those spaces. I mean, there again, you're going to have to design around the bathroom locations and make sure that you've got enough bathroom space for how many people you've got in the building and all that kind of stuff, and I don't know how many people are using the town offices at any given time and how many bathrooms you'd need to take care of all of that.
So you don't see any need to tear down any part of that building right now?
I do not.
We could get in there
I'm a
a year and a
big fan
half,
of
we could
trying
get
to,
this
you know,
building back on the payroll.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it's, as you said, you know, it's all well and good to talk about this on a Monday night.
Yeah, it's not. And no disrespect to you, but we're not talking facts. We're not, and I mean that in a bad way, and we're not talking figures and things like that, because it's easy to talk about it, but when you look at what needs to be done, have an architect go in there and design the purpose that we want to use the building for, and what needs to be done, then we can start really looking at dollar figures and
Can a
stuff like that.
GC just do the work of an architect instead of spending $1,000 on an architect? Or do you need an architect?
An architect.
That's where it starts, yeah. I
You
mean,
need an
I can't, to get a schematic build out of what you're proposing, I don't think that would be too expensive. But I mean, we just repurposed an 1885 house for commercial space. We did we've done some old buildings and, you know, made it work. This is not, you know, this is built to modern standards, at least structurally speaking.
Well, like I said, I agree with you with that, with the building. It's a solid concrete structure. I don't think there's any, you know, concerns with that. Again, I don't want us to talk, I want us to talk in real facts and figures, because that's why
Why don't we task the committee here, that's what they want to call themselves, to get those facts and figures you need. get the 3 bids.
Well, for them to do that, that's gotta go through us, that's gotta go out to bid, it's gotta go out to an architectural, that's gotta go out to bid, have someone bid on it.
Yeah.
And see what it's gonna cost, that's our job.
Well, don't we also need town meeting to approve
The
the
funding
cost of
for
the
it.
study?
Yeah.
Right, for the funding for it, you know, like I said,
I want to get, well, what I'm getting at is I'd like to see some facts and figures to present to the town.
well, we.
Got it.
And the facts and figures from 2018 you don't want to look at anymore because they're 4 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just,
They're outdated.
it wouldn't be fair, it wouldn't be accurate, and, you know, we don't know what that would cost.
And I think that study mainly focused on tearing it down. Didn't really...
No, it had three suggestions.
It did, but it didn't go into depth on the renovation. It said that it would renovate 1/3 of the building, so it would knock down 2/3 and renovate 1/3, if
Well,
I recall correctly.
I didn't see the whole study, I just saw the report given to
Yeah.
you, not to you, but to the select board,
Yeah.
and the reuse, they did have a 12.2 million for the whole renovation, and then only using the third would be 5 million.
Right.
But I didn't see the study, other than this summary. And then the third suggestion was to knock it down
Freeze it, yeah.
and rebuild in 2 phases.
And that, I think, was around 4 million at that time, but that was 4 years ago. So last time we talked about it, we talked about the prices and how they're outdated. We
Yeah.
didn't make
Yeah,
a decision
and they-
on what to do with it next.
Generally with
because we would
studies,
have to ask.
sorry, Chris, generally with studies, it's what we will say to them, and they ask us, what do you want to do with it, you know? And then they were leaning on hopefully replacing it. If we want to go through it again, and get another study done on it. I don't want to waste time, I want to get us out of here.
Well, why don't we not lean on the person doing the architect and say, here's the 3 choices, renovate, rebuild, or raise? And let them come back with 3 unadulterated.
Updated
Well, I think that would,
in the last board.
I think that would be the way to go, Lynn, is that, to be fair to people that gotta look at it, here are the 3 options, here's what it's gonna cost you. But again, for us to do that, we need to know what we want the inside of that building to look like. What are we gonna use it for? So again, the architect's gotta have some kind of idea what we're looking for, what we wanna purpose that building as, and how we want it designed.
I'm not necessarily sure an architect would need to know that much detail for a general quote. I mean, we want to use the building for offices, for our town offices. We have these for town offices. We want to use another part of the building for the senior center.
How big do you want the rooms? How do you want this? There's a lot of things that come into play that architects will look at. That's what I mean. How do you want the building set up? How big, you know, what offices do you want? How big do you want them? Where is, you know, we gotta make sure that all the wiring is gonna be where the wiring needs to be. All the plumbing, if there's any additional plumbing needs to come in, and so on and so forth. So I'm just saying, we need to have at least a general kind of idea of what we want the building to look like. To say an architect, the architect will say, well, I can give you designs, but not knowing exactly what you want. You know, it's the same thing with a school. So when you build the school, what do you want the school to look like? What are some of the things you want the school to have? So I think it's the same thing that's gonna come looking at that building. What are some of the things, how do you want it to size up? Do you want, 3,000 feet to be part of office side? We want the other 5,000 feet to be, square feet to be part of the senior center. We want the senior center to have an exercise room, this room, that room. So that's all I'm saying, is that we need to make sure that we provide enough information to our architect to get a real understanding what it's gonna cost. I don't want, because it is gonna be a lot of money, regardless of how you look at it.
So how do we get that information?
We start off by, if that's what we wanna do, we gotta start off by looking out for a bid for an architect. Am I correct, Chris? And then to do that, we gotta see, idea what that's gonna cost us. Again, we have to go to the town and ask, can we spend, 65, 70,000, whatever it may be, to hire an architect firm to do what we would like to do. And here's the 3 options you have. Obviously, to tear it down, they tell us, I don't know if they could tell us what it costs to tear it down if need be, but if you did tear it down, what kind of building you want to put up? If you want to renovate, how much of it? You want to do it in phases, as you talked about. The thing is,
I mean, if the towns, I guess part of the question is the townspeople feel there's a need for these things.
well, that's
It
it.
starts
because
there.
the reality is, if we're talking about something that could be, have a price tag up around $10 million, that's something that's gonna require an override.
Well, I would think the townspeople would want a building for their town offices in one building, rather than two buildings that they had to go back and forth to, not knowing what office is where. I mean, that's a big push.
It's a big push, but it's also, it would become, the only way you're gonna raise it is with an override
Well, before we get to the override, I think we gotta know
Raise
some
funds.
figures.
Regardless, we don't have, even if it comes at $4 million, we don't have $4 million, so that's not the case, so. And I said earlier too, it's, when it comes to us too, whatever we're doing, it's all prevailing wages. So it's gonna cost, additional cost to kind of, for a private company went out and built something versus the town, because the town's gonna pay prevailing wages. It's the contractor.
Unfortunately, there's no grants out there for town offices either, because I looked for them just to see what was out there. There's for schools, of course, but there's nothing for town offices, so it would be the taxpayers that would have to foot the bill on it.
How about senior centers?
Oh, that's a good one. I wonder if we could get a portion of that. I don't know, I would have to search more and contact Pioneer Valley. They're usually really good letting us know what's out there and stuff, but I haven't done the research on that, so I don't know.
And I remember some years ago, Senator Lesser was talking about some funding at one time. We were looking to build a new senior center. So that might be something we could, it was actually funding from the state, so. I don't remember everything, it was probably 4 years ago,
So I guess
3
then,
years ago.
so I guess we'll just wait then to hear back from you as to if we should do anything as a
Well,
potential committee, or?
But yeah, I think the purpose, I think this board needs to decide, what do we want to do? Do we want to have it sent out to bid for an architect firm to start looking at it? And again, then it comes, what are the options? And I think the committee would have to kind of maybe look at, what do we want from the building? How do you want it set up? How do you want it designed? Because those are questions I would imagine an architect is going to have. What do you want to use it for? Do you want to use it for this? And these are some of the things that we're looking to make sure that it has. I mean, a lot goes into building a house, never mind a building. That's already has the structure set up. But like I said, it could be easy enough, as I think as Rick said, to go in there and just start taking over some classrooms and making it work. And chances are, well, if this building, if something happened to this building, we had to do something like that, I'm sure we'd find a way to do it. So that is a possibility.
I had a question. I just had a question. If we did this study a while ago, and when the numbers were off, didn't you ask every department what they needed already? What was required for them to function in an office? So when we already have that information, knowing what is actually needed for each office, to know what space we needed, how much footage they need, lock-up place, don't we already have that already taken care of if that was already done before?
No, because it wasn't looked at as far as an architect designing. It was a study designing on what the purpose you could use the building for. Would it be beneficial to use it to refurbish it? Was it beneficial to tear it down? Was it beneficial to use it for a certain amount of it? Not that, I don't think, how many square feet the senior center needed inside the building.
If I remember right, there was a design done for two 7,500 square foot buildings.
But that's not inside there, that's the other buildings.
No, that wasn't in some, but I'm just saying.
Right, that's what I was talking about with Senator Lesser.
No, this group had a set of designs made because they wanted to stay under the 7,500 square foot footprint, because that's when a sprinkler system is required. So that's why they were looking at doing two buildings, one a senior center, one a town office space.
Right. That's not the design that came forward when Senator Lesser was here. We're looking at plans. That was something different?
That was from that original West Street School Reuse Committee, or whatever name they went by. Yes, that's what's developed by the architect
Right.
who did those various options.
So that's a new building.
That was 2 new buildings, yes.
Right, that's not renovating the current.
No,
No, but you have the square footage and everything that they're gonna be required to have to function in their space. So that's part of the stuff that's already done, that they still need the same space and they still need the working area.
Yeah,
Because you're
but-
asking, you don't know what you need, so I thought that.
But I think it's, I think it's
I
different
don't
inside the building,
believe,
though.
I don't believe every department was asked what they needed for square footage or operating space.
Because now
Okay.
that you just stayed underneath the 7,500 square feet for both buildings, because that kept us under the
Sprinkler
system.
requirement, yeah.
How much was it for the sprinkler?
We were gonna have to put a cistern in because we don't have public water supply.
Right.
And that's usually what I think, a 10,000 gallon
Depending
tank.
on the footage, square footage needed for coverage is how much of the cistern you need, depending how big it is. How much what you're covering.
So I think that's where we are, just to find out what it would cost to do it, and then go from there. And again, we need to find out, I would assume that a architect firm could let us know what it would cost them to design such a piece of property. I mean, I think it's good, the design is gonna be designed, I don't think what we add into it would change the amount of money it's gonna cost them to technically design it. But we can also have, leeway of, what this amount to that amount that it may cost us, and then bring that to the town to vote on it, to spend that money to look at that. And that's the first chapter. And I said, like, something ever happened to this building or the annex building, or, something where you had to kind of move, I think we could move into the school, we could make it work if need be. But, that's more of a temporary, not a permanent solution, so we gotta look what can we do for a permanent solution. But unless someone feels different, I believe that would be our first step to look at, and start there, and see what it would cost. And then, obviously, we have to ask the town for funding for that architect, and then go from there. That'll be step 1. And after that comes back in, kind of decide what, again, here's option A, option B, option C. What does the town want to spend? Because
I think we can
it's
get
gonna cost money.
While we're waiting for all this to occur, to do their ducks in a row, and I understand that. Does it hurt if the committee go ahead and start doing some investigation, like how much the department actually needs, or a certain one, like how much space they actually work for, so we can have all the documentation already ready to go? Can we start working on that while we're waiting to find out if we ever have the funding? Because information's information, so.
No, I think that's great. I think that's probably to see what everybody needs, and what they believe they're gonna need for what, and also, right, and I think that's just not just the space you need, but, as far as, what else you're gonna need that may require certain,
Functionality of them,
functionality,
yeah.
electricity, this or that, or whatever, the computers, phone system, so on and so forth, to make that work as well. I think it's fine.
You guys can work on that. I think we need to task the architect to do it in, if we're gonna use the Granby building, the West Street School, can we do it in phases? Task that, tear it down, another one, which I'm opposed to.
The 3 choices.
The 3 choices would be to, whether you.
But if we can
tear
do,
it down or-
how much it's gonna cost to get us in there and future stuff down the road? You got the stage in the back there, we can have we've always been talking about a place for the kids to go.
So you want actually a 4th option, renovation in stages. What would that cost?
Yes.
As opposed to a complete
Yeah,
renovation?
you can go with this
Either
idea.
tearing it down,
Tear it
Town
down.
offices,
A complete
senior center,
renovation.
part
Wait a
1.
minute, you're both talking.
whatever.
Yeah, so we can do that, and then those other 2.
Say it again?
So, right, 3 phases.
Hey, Lynn,
Either you,
Lynn, listen to the tape when it gets.
so, So either tearing the school down,
Yeah.
and rebuilding
Yep.
whatever's needed for offices and
Right.
senior center. The second would be to renovate whatever you need, everything at once, the complete
Yep.
thing done. The next would be, okay, what if we renovate it in phases? We did this first. What was our priority? This is our priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, and we did that in 3 phases. What would that, okay, this is what it would cost you. The downside of that is that you don't know what things are gonna cost you 2 years down the road, 4 years down the road, 5 years down the road. And I think COVID was a perfect example of that, how much, like, building material went up in 2 years. So those are things you can't, so, I don't know if they can actually give us a figure that this is what it costs you to do this. Well, this phase 2 would be this, but depending when you do it, can't really give you a figure what it's gonna cost. But they're not gonna tell us what it costs, because that's another whole other part going out to bid, so, that's something we can look at. But again, like I said, when it goes out to bid, you'll kind of get the same type of thing where architect's just gonna give us the usage and things like that, where going out to bid is gonna tell us what it's gonna cost us to do the 3 different options. And that's where we come back and ask the town for money.
Glenn, I don't think tearing down the,
What is your name? Oh, wait. James, it's technically not part of the committee,
yes,
but, so I don't want to really, this is the committee's time, because I want to be fair to our procedures.
So the committee is going to collect the data for us from the different departments that we can present to the architect for what we want?
Sure.
Oh, Jen,
You're going to have to formally appoint us.
as the committee.
Right now, we are concerned citizens.
Right now, we're just a concerned group.
So the name of your group is?
Well, we haven't done any of that because we didn't know we were a group yet.
So before we get to that, I'd definitely like to make a public announcement to form a committee. Because I think the committee should be made up of certain, I'll say certain individuals, but different individuals from different areas and different aspects, what they look at. Having someone from construction is great. Having someone that works in the schools is great. So I think having a variety of people there would be beneficial. So I don't want to just say we are concerned citizens are now becoming our committee. I think we need to reach out to the town and anybody who wishes to be part of the committee, probably look at that, and then we can choose from there. And it may be the folks sitting right in front of us right now. And I greatly appreciate you coming forward with this. I know it's come up several times throughout different meetings and talking about it. Unfortunately, other things come up and sometimes take priority, and this, the board deals with a lot of different things that come up, and sometimes take additional time that we don't expect it to take, and unfortunately, some things get put on the back burner, and people like yourselves gotta come up and...
Yeah, we just force it to the front.
Yep, absolutely. So, I appreciate it, 'cause sometimes it needs to be done.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, looks like we have, well, is there any further discussion on that?
We probably should form a committee on it.
Right.
So, just so I understand what just happened, so you
Yes.
are allowing anyone who wants to be a part of it to form, or to be part of this committee, and they're going to contact Chris Martin to be a part of this, or Kathy?
Just contact the selectmen's office.
Yeah,
Okay.
Selectmen's office.
Okay.
Anybody who wishes to be part of the West Street School,
Feasibility?
I would say, a feasibility study, use study.
Feasibility use.
Should contact the Selectmen's office, either by phone or by email. I think it's fine. And that way we, again, we have, a good portion of people that may be interested in it who, might have said, well, I didn't know about that, and I want to
Yeah.
make sure that they have the input too.
And now, how long do they have to get in contact before we like set the committee members
I would give them till our,
next meeting?
yeah, no, what's our next meeting? No,
It's September.
Our following meeting in September, which is, we said September
The last
6th.
September.
September
First
7th,
September.
Wednesday, we decided.
September 7th, so it gives,
September 19th,
19th.
Oh, you want it after that one?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's what they're saying.
okay.
so it gives us,
Basically, they'll give them like 3 weeks, 4 weeks to,
yeah, it's about a month. We get about a month to look at, but it gives some people a chance to think about it and be part of it if they wish to be part of it.
Okay.
And then we'll, at that point, I think even beforehand, I think that this board should look at, I don't know if we do it for our next town meeting, but eventually we have to get we need to get some estimates from, different architect firms to decide, because that's gonna have to go out to bid to find out what it would cost just to hire the firm. And then we'd have to bring that amount to the town floor, town meeting, to vote on that cost to fund, an architect to do the design.
But we don't have to wait for the committee for that, correct?
No, we don't.
Okay.
So,
So we gotta wait all the way to May before anything gets done?
we don't have to, no. We maybe have a town meeting shortly, right, sometime?
I was looking September, October.
September, October.
Yeah.
So if we can do this sooner or later, if we can get that out there, so we have the cost associated with what it would cost, and then we can bring that to the town floor. Even if we have a rough estimate in between, I know we've done that before in the past too, in between a certain amount, you have kind of a range to what it may cost. We can do something like that, so we can kind of get the ball rolling, so we do have that. Is that something we can do, Chris? Just get a rough estimate to what it would cost, and at least that way we can have that.
Well, what we need to do is develop what we want the scope of services to be for this contract,
Right.
okay? Then I could call a couple architect firms and say, hey, based upon this, what do you think it would cost? Which gives you your ballpark estimate for when you go out and develop your specs, your official bid document, and issue it out.
So that would give us a ballpark figure, if you will, to what to bring the town floor. I mean, again, between this and this is what we're looking for to spend on it, so that we can go out to bid.
For the architects.
For the architect, yeah. That would be technically the first step, and then, so that's gonna take some time, and then that'll come in, and then at that time,
Do you think you can get it going before, get them to respond before the 1st? To say waiting around.
well, it's not waiting around, it just takes time, the process takes
Well,
time.
like I said, I need to know exactly what the specs are that we want them to do. Like you're saying, you want 4 options, to be able to look at 4 options. Basically, you want them to, number 1, tour the building,
Yeah.
and then turn around and give you, address 4 options and the feasibility of doing each of those options. Then you want them to turn around and give you a potential cost estimate of each of those options, based upon their experience of what the square footage cost is for construction or renovation, And I know at the MSBA, they were talking last year that they were running about $600 a square foot for new, no.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Was it new, or was that for renovation and 300 for new? It was 300 and 600 per square foot that they were looking at. So, I can go out again on the MSBA website and see what the cost factors are right now. But that was for schools, which is a little bit different than office space. because there's not a large parameter for how big an office has to be or not be. So,
Okay.
that's just off the top of my head real quick. I haven't had
Right, well, no,
a
that's-
chance to really think about
No,
how much farther to go with it.
right, not to put you on the spot, but that's a starting spot for us. And that's, like I said, you know, we'll have an idea first, let's go to the town, first of all, let's get the kind of estimates, then go to the town to appropriate the funds for us to spend the funds, and then we'll go out to bid and go from there. And we're starting the process. It's a long process, it doesn't happen overnight.
But I'm not even sure if I want them to design the building. That would be like a phase 2, after the town decides which way they want to go. That would dictate where we would be going with design. Or, like you said, they're going to turn around and raise and build.
Well, that's why I was thinking that if they're given, the town is given the option to see what the cost is different. So, option A, it's gonna cost you this, option B would cost this, option C would cost this. You know, tearing it down, rebuilding is gonna cost this. Renovating it completely to do what we need to do would cost this. Renovating phases would cost this, 1, 2, 3. So then, I think the town would have to look at what it would cost. And like I said earlier, I don't see any way that would involve an override.
You know, like I said, I just like to think about it a little more than try and have it out by tomorrow.
No, I don't think it takes time. It's a project, and you know,
All right, I'll give you to next week.
Yeah. You know, I know people have been talking about the high school and the issues the high school has and the costs associated with that too. So, I mean, these are things that we need to think about as well when it comes to spending tax dollars.
So we're leaving it out right now. We're gonna who's gonna work on the scope of services for the contract? Chris will? Okay.
Chris will. So Chris will, as he said, he'll reach out to some different architect firms, kind of get a ballpark figure. This is what we kind of want to do, what would it cost for services, and at least that way we have a ballpark figure when we go to town floor to ask for appropriate the funds.
When George Randall, 52 Taylor, I'm thrilled that something has been talked about to maybe do something with West Street School. In the future, Granby's going to be faced with probably building a new high school. And my thought process would take me down the line to renovate the current high school into a town office complex and build a new high school behind the existing high school. That's something that I would suggest that this committee look into.
Well, that's a good point, George. That's what I kind of point out. Remember, there's been a lot of talk about renovations on the new high school, possibly building a new high school, and those are things that we need to remember because those are future plans and we need to look at the future of the town. Not just.
I think it would be a good selling point to the taxpayers to, instead of renovating, now don't misunderstand me here.
Yep.
I'm in favor of renovating West Street, but I think if you put it to the taxpayers to renovate the existing high school into town hall, and then a new high school complex behind it, I think it might be a better sell to the taxpayers. But
No, that's again, and that's why I appreciate people thinking outside the box and looking at different thoughts, different ideas.
It's, George, that's a good idea. I just worry about the safety of the kids. With the public having access to that, with the proximity of the children.
that could be regulated.
Yeah.
Seamus.
Seamus Connolly, 21 Ferry Hill Road. I really think that we should renovate the West Street, but I think the first thing we should do is renovate the high school first. I think we need to put like one thing at a time. I understand the West Street School building is like, you know, is is like as of now being used by the maintenance and highway department. But I also know for a fact, let's say we were to tear down that street, the cost would be enormous. Plus you'd have to like corner off the rubble. Say you tore down the whole school, you have to cut down, you have to have like a little, more than just orange tape like you currently have at the playground, because you can't stop people from, like, say it's winter, right, and somebody goes, decides to go sledding in that area and it's dead of night. Somebody could get hurt on, say, let's say, the construction site, so you have to keep that in mind as well besides fences.
Well, that would be all under construction, people that would do the appropriate things as far as that's concerned. That wouldn't involve the town, that involves whoever is doing the required work on the property. I don't want to shut you off, Seamus, but we do have other things to talk about.
No, I get that, Glenn, thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you. Okay, we have the approved and signed maintenance warrants.
All right, so I will start off with the first one. So the first warrant dated August 5th, 2022 is a payroll warrant for fiscal year 23. 09 is the warrant number in the amount of $399,729.30. And I'm sorry, I should have started with, I'm making a motion to accept these warrants. Next one is a maintenance warrant dated August 5th, 2022, fiscal year 23, warrant number 10, in the amount of $401,737.79. Then we have a bills payable warrant dated August 12th, 2022, fiscal year 23, warrant number 11, in the amount of $180,550.26. Then we have a bills payable warrant, fiscal year 23, warrant number 13, dated August 19th, 2022, in the amount of $172,474.33. And I'm sorry, I should have put warrant number 12 first. So we have a payroll warrant, fiscal year 23, warrant number 12, dated August, oh my gosh, not October, August 16th, 22, in the amount of $423,718.55. So those are the four warrants that I make a motion to accept.
And second. And approve.
And approve, yes.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is anybody opposed? All right, there we go. All right, we can move on to old business. The update on Dufresne Playground.
I don't have any updates at this time. I did get one proposal back from a person.
Come on up, Jeremy, I know, because they won't pick you up if it's back there talking, so just kind of state your name and what you do, so people know.
Maintenance Department Supervisor. I did get back one proposal from a person from a walk around that we did, and from Mr. LaRue's site evaluation that he did on it for safety. Another person that gave one in was totally askew from that one, so I need to have Mr. LaRue that did the actual assessment of it, kind of give us a baseline of what needs to be done and the equipment and all that, so that way we're apples for apples for any type of pricing that we get.
Right. Yep.
The second one actually came in at a much lower price, and then in review of what it was minus some pads, some repairs.
Yep.
So I don't want to throw something in front of you guys that doesn't actually meet our needs to do any of it. So hopefully we'll get that back very soon.
All right.
Mr. LaRue is working tomorrow, and then Wednesday he plans on working on that. So I can get that to the other guy.
Because I like to, do our best to get that up and back and functionable so people can use it.
Especially hearing that you're possibly going to have a special town meeting, it might be nice to
Yeah.
have all that if we need twice.
It would be,
Get it
yeah.
before there, so that
So
we
we
can
can,
present.
right, so, 'cause like I said, I know people have concerns with it not being able to use and things like that, so definitely want to do our part to get it back up and to where it needs to be, so it's safe for the people to use it, and then go from there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So, Jeremy, I did have Bobby Rougeau, I think is her last name, from ABC Childcare. She was part of the original build of the park. She did give me the warranty. However, this is just a generic warranty because I called the landscape structures, and they are still in business, but that's just who they got the equipment from. So I got another contact, which was the company that they use to put up the structure, or that they get the warranty from. So I can give you that information. I'm not sure if anything's going to be covered under the warranty, but they have all the information. When I spoke to the secretary today, she said the contact at M.E. O'Brien and Sons Incorporated in Medway, Mass. Is Andrew Kimball. He's the one who's in charge of this area, I guess. So I have his phone number as well, but I don't have anything else at this time because they have to look up the original job number and invoice number because the Friends of Granby Park group that put this together didn't have that information. So they have to look that all up. But I will give you everything once I get it, and I'll give you the contact and everything and the number.
Yeah, there wasn't much that was any damaged or broken things other than the seesaw. Everything else was either incorrectly installed.
Okay.
Which is a concern when it comes to warranties, if it
So
wasn't,
therefore, right.
wasn't
And that was
installed.
already forwarded over to O'Brien.
Okay.
And then when Mr.
Oh,
LaRue
okay.
did, so we
I
already
see.
have the contact information.
Even the clamps and everything too? Because I know there was a lot of clamps that needed to be replaced. Those aren't
That's
covered
wear
either.
and tear, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
Well, it
more-
says it covers 100 years wear and tear.
Well, we'll look at it again, but,
Okay.
yeah, again, it was also installed incorrectly.
Right, so those come, right, those
Okay.
come into
They were in
question.
contact and they got a copy of the report,
Yeah.
so they should be able to tell us whether, you know.
Okay. What they cover and what they don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
I didn't know
and
you were in
if
contact with them.
Free replacement, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Definitely, so thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's, be interesting to see what they do cover, again, and what is considered wear and tear, if it wasn't installed properly, and then they always look at the necessary upkeep, did you do the things you were supposed to do for the upkeep as well, so.
But-
Interesting piece, though.
Can I just say something, Crystal? You said 100 years for wear and tear.
It
It doesn't
says-
include wear and tear. It's a
Oh,
100-year
okay.
warranty, but does not include any cosmetic issues or wear and tear from normal use.
Okay. So just corrosion and natural deterioration?
Yeah, that way the metal is gonna
The
stand up
metal's
for
gonna
100
last 100 years.
for 100
Yeah.
years.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to
Yeah.
correct that, that's all.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good point, Chris.
Thank you.
I think Mr. LaRue with that, with the springs, had said that as well, because of the fact that it looked like it had been exceeded past the point of a child use.
Right, and then again,
And that's what
Okay.
stressed them and stuff, so, and with the report. All right, but we'll look into it, again, anything we can try to get.
Okay. Thank you.
Jeremy,
Thank you.
before you go, the signage issue,
Oh, yeah.
do we still have signs,
On which part, what?
signage issue that
So
we
you
had?
got, so the Brown, are you talking about Brown Ellison? We
Take the
did put
trash
them
out.
up there,
Just take
and
the
then the
trash out ones, yeah.
vandalism?
Okay.
Yeah, the signs are up.
Yes, actually, so yes, following our last meeting, the signage was all put up. We did have some damage to two of the signs within the first week. We had one that looked like somebody played with their dog with it. It was all chewed up and the frame broken. That was replaced with a new sign. The other one had writing on it that was inappropriate. And that was able to get cleaned up with some rubbing alcohol and an acetone. And that was actually reused back in place. All signage is still in place at this time. So it has not been removed or damaged since then. So that's a good thing. Same as the perimeter fence that we put up around the playground has remained intact. We had two broken holes within the first couple days, and I think that was more curiosity of somebody leaning on them, broke them, we replaced them, and they haven't been broken since.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
It's good news.
Nice.
Here's good news.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. To review and update the permit fee waiver form.
Okay, at the last meeting, you just wanted us to add another question. Are you a nonprofit?
Yep.
It's been added onto there.
Thanks. No, I have.
So that meets the requirements of the Board of Selectmen. We'd like the board to adopt it and start including it with the various licenses that we send out. What?
And unfortunately, I'm just realizing it now, but it'd be nice to have a phone number. We have date, name, organization, address, but no phone number.
That comes with the application.
Okay, all right.
So this is in addition to the application?
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine then. Yeah.
The common vic and the entertainment license, they all have to provide a phone number.
My biggest thing is the reason why and whether or not they're nonprofit. That's all. And if they are nonprofit, I think we should have some type of proof that they are nonprofit though. So.
No, that makes sense.
501(c), a copy of it or
Yeah.
something.
What do we consider proof?
The actual
The actual
letter from the IRS that
That's
says.
a
The IRS number?
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are nonprofit. It's a 501c3.
C3.
There's a couple of them though too.
Well, C3 is the private nonprofit. There's a public nonprofit, and there's various other,
Yeah, there's a few different
Scenarios,
variations of
yes.
it, yeah.
Okay. So I like it.
all right.
I will make a motion to accept the permit fee waiver as...
Form.
Do you want me to, underneath, are you nonprofit, please provide a copy of IRS documentation?
I do think it should be there.
Yeah.
So they are submitting it, so we're not that we're just not taking someone's word for it. That
But
is-
I can add that.
Yeah,
if
just
you-
add that in. I think that's fine. Yep.
Okay.
All right, so I will make a motion to approve the permit fee waiver request form with the change to writing, please provide documentation underneath. Are you a nonprofit?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody opposed? No? Okay. We have the COA survey form.
Yeah, I just handed that to you.
Yep.
too.
All right, so I talked to Lisa, I'm probably going to say her name wrong, and I apologize for this, but Petraglia?
Petraglia.
Petraglia. And she just thought it would be nice if, when we're sending out, or we're asking her to send out these questionnaires, that the community members know who it's coming from. So I drafted a little beginning part for you guys to look at to see. I had her also look at it and just see if she wanted me to add anything or take anything out. And this is hopefully going to go out. They're going to start stuffing them tomorrow, and they're going to go out on Wednesday. If you guys are okay with everything that's written there. No, that's okay. It's a good starting point. There's always wordsmithing in every document.
It is a great starting point. Then I look
You
at it
gotta
like,
have
just look
something
at
to start with.
He was over here correcting it or something.
That's okay.
Need a red pen going.
I'm in education, you forget, so happens all the time.
What are some of the changes?
I would just change where it says fill out to complete.
Okay.
I'd take out the words stepping up as to being our interim COA director. I don't like,
For being our,
yes.
okay.
And I would take out the word hope
Yep,
and put in goal.
good. I like it.
Now, shortly after that, it says to find someone, I would put hire a person. That, instead of can, I put will.
That will, okay.
That's all I have.
Good catches.
Kathy, I can give you this too. For the changes, yeah. I like the changes, thank you.
Thank you for putting that there.
Yep, good changes.
Okay.
So I will make a motion to accept it with the changes presented by Glenn.
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Okay.
There we go. That is that.
I don't know if you saw the minutes up here, because I know
Boarding this. Oh, the
we have
minutes.
lots of minutes. 3 of them, actually.
I'm sorry, I did miss that. Thank you. Do you have minutes?
All right.
You do?
So I will make a motion to accept the minutes from May 17th, from July 18th, and from August 1st. And
I'll second
pass
that
them along.
motion.
Okay. So any further discussion? Any good thoughts or concerns in regards to it?
No, I just want to say Kathy and Dale did a great job catching everything, because there was a lot in some of those meetings.
There, yeah. Good point, Chris.
So-
Very good point. All right. Is there a second?
I second
Did you
it.
second?
Yeah,
I apologize. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? See some of the times, he's ended 8:45, 8:12. And those don't, some of these meetings get longer because of executive session too, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one like that, it was like 8:12, I go, boy, that was later than that.
Yeah, it probably was.
I'm not gonna argue over that.
All right, Chris, do you have some information in regards to
Yes.
the new select board conference you went to?
All right, so when I went to the new select board meeting, I know Kathy had made copies for you guys for the PowerPoints.
Yes.
But one thing I just wanted to point out is just the way that they organize their information for the public to view. They had talked about the capital budget and ongoing reinvestment and how it's important, and to avoid capital leads, or avoiding capital, sorry, leads to bigger problems, which is something that Granby, I think, faces a lot. Like you were saying with West Street School, we always have to ask for an override when we need to do capital improvements and stuff like that to our buildings. So I didn't know who's responsible. I think it was their finance department that did that, but it's a lot bigger in this town that they have. But they show us when the debt was incurred, when the debt leaves, and then instead of us readjusting the taxes based off the debt when it leaves, that debt will then get carried on to something else for capital improvement. So you're not decreasing the taxes, but it's more of a long-term range plan that they come up with. So say, for example, the West Street roof gets paid off this year, and that debt is gone. Instead of getting rid of that debt, they then take on a new debt for capital improvements that takes over that debt. So they're not accruing more debt on top of debt that they already have. They wait until that debt's paid off, and then they pick up a capital improvement with that debt with the money they used to pay that debt. So say I pay off my car this year.
Yeah.
I pay $500 a month.
Yeah.
Instead of me being able to save that $500, I'm now going to use that $500 to put in a new kitchen or something like that. So that's kind of what they did, and I didn't know, do we have a long-range
We do that.
planning committee?
That money goes into, whatever's left at the end goes into free cash, right?
Right, so it
That's
goes into a
appropriate.
savings account, right?
Well, it goes into a savings account that we are able to take things out of for purchases, from some big, if something arises where we need to make a big purchase and they have the money there to do something like that.
Okay.
Versus taking out a bond to borrow money.
Okay.
You know, most towns they borrow money. The bond
Right.
ratings are good, just like we have an excellent bond rating, and so to borrow money and to kind of pay it back, not too many towns or cities at that point have millions and millions of dollars
Right.
in their savings account. You know, we're fortunate to have some money every year in our savings account to move us forward into the next year. I mean, sometimes that's come up where we've taken out free cash to offset a budget for a school budget several years ago. So, you know, those are things, so that money we're not paying it out anymore, but we're still taking it. It's just going into our savings for something that we may need.
Can I just expound upon that a little bit, Glenn? Back around, I want to say 2007, 2008, John LaBera chaired a committee to look at exactly what Crystal was talking about. At that point in time, based upon the age of our equipment, the age of our roads, and the normal lifespans, we were supposed to put $500,000 away a year to cover as things expired in their useful life. We started to try and go down that road. However, that's why we created 3 stabilization funds: the general purpose, the municipal buildings, and the capital needs. The problem that arises is that at any town meeting, if a department stands up and says, I need $400,000 that wasn't given to me by the finance committee, the selectmen, or part of the budget process, because they couldn't justify it well enough, all they have to do is stand up at town meeting and through a 2/3 vote, appropriate out of those stabilization funds to cover their operating costs. That's the problem we run into, is that you have a department that will stand up and say, I need 400,000, I need 300,000. They get enough people in the meeting. I'm not going to use the word stacked because we all know that's a common phrase. But what they do is they go out and make telephone calls to make sure that voters come for that one amendment to their budget to vote money out of a stabilization fund to cover an operating cost instead of the original purpose it was meant to be for.
And then everything he planned is gone.
You're right. That's the problem we run into, okay? We do that. We used to take a certain amount of free cash every year and appropriate a certain amount into each of those funds to cover as we needed it. But then what happens is we drain the general purpose one. Oh, well, we got this sitting in municipal building. Let's attack that one. Let's attack the capital needs one. And that's what ends up happening.
Okay.
So as much as we want to do our financial planning, what happens is departments turn around and they want something and they make the proper calls. They get enough people to go there. They vote that one article, and then it's a elephant walk out of the room.
But in regards to, too, but in all fairness, it is their money.
I'm not arguing that, but what Crystal just said, we tried putting into a place. And what happens is, it isn't followed.
Right, and I understand, and that is what, that does happen, and we've seen it happen, but again, that's the town, the people, the taxpayers' money, they decide what they want to do with it, but I agree, and sometimes people live for a day, not for the future.
You're right, and that's what I'm saying, but then they turn around and say, well, why aren't you replacing your equipment? Why aren't you doing this for your buildings? We spent it on operation for the last 3 years, for this department, that department, whatever, okay? They don't look that far out in advance, and I agree with you. Yes, it is their money. They can vote however they want to vote it, okay? But then don't turn around and blame everybody else when you don't have the funds that you were planning on having in there to replace as you needed it.
That's the point I make, is that people tend to forget there's only so much money that comes in. Whether we've had this discussion before, for any town, city, state, federal government, there's two ways of raising money. There's through taxes and fees. That's how you raise money to run your town, city, state, government. And with that said, that's it. X amount of money dollars come in every year, and to run a budget, you spend so much, and when it's said and done, you want to have money put away, if you will, for a rainy day. And that's, again, like, I've heard people say, not to get off topic, but some people want to, when they talk about, well, just go out for an override. Well, that's tough for people to swallow, and those things, and that's what people say, well, gee, I see there is X amount of dollars sitting in the stabilization fund. Can we just use that? And again, like you said, sometimes it's just people using things for today instead of preparing for the future.
But also, just to follow up on an override, we have a ceiling.
I know, we're getting there
Also, a
close.
tax ceiling.
Yeah.
$25 per thousand is our tax ceiling. If real estate values take a hit, while we may have $3 million excess or capacity between what we're raising now and our ceiling, if the value of the town properties drop, our ceiling drops.
And it's the same conversation we had 3
Yes.
years ago, that people don't realize that we'll reach, we gotta be careful, we don't reach our ceiling, 'cause then that's it. What it is what it is. That's all we have for money. Can't
Yes.
tax anymore.
And there are communities already at the ceiling.
Yes, they are, and they're struggling.
Yes, they are.
And some of the, I'm not gonna say that wealthy communities, but some of the wealthy communities right now are struggling right now because they've reached that. They spent a lot of money over the past, 20 years, and there's no more money to spend.
But-
They're stuck there.
But it just goes back to what the finance committee usually says at the beginning of every annual town meeting. They read their little statement. I don't think people really realize what they're saying at some points. And that's all I'm saying.
So is there a way, and I know you said back in 2007, 2008 that John Libera had started this, is there a way to do a long-range financial planning committee that includes people from the select board, the school and finance committees, the planning board, the finance, well, I already said finance committee, town and school administration, and town residents? Is there a way to do collaboration so that it's clear that a lot went into this? That these are the capital plans or the capital improvements that need to be done? This is, and I know what you're saying, it could just, all this work, and it could just be thrown away with one vote.
All I'm saying is who is sitting in your seat right now, who's sitting on the school committee right now, who's sitting in administration, will all get together and agree. You get voted out of office, the next person who sits there doesn't agree with it, or the next school committee, or the next superintendent, or the next whomever, town administrator, anybody. They turn around and they don't follow what is put together by a certain group. That's the problem you run into, okay, is that everybody may sit at a table, We did that for the school budget this year. We had that small committee that sat there.
Right.
And hammered out an agreement. But that was based upon the people sitting in the room that day. Come next year, if they try and do that, you have someone else sitting in on that group, you may not get anywhere. Okay? That's the problem you run into. It's good as long as you have the people who put this together sitting there. Because you all agreed and you all can see the benefits for it.
Yeah.
But then when the next person walks in the door, if they totally disagree with it, that can lead to problems, and that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Crystal, to your point, I think what you're saying might be something to kind of maybe bring up at a town meeting to remind people that when we do take money out of the stabilization fund, that these have an effect on future things down the road. And people tend to forget about that. And, sometimes just because, the past few years have been good, and doesn't mean, and I'm just using a phrase, doesn't mean the next few years will be good. Or you may run into trouble, and now you don't, just like any individual or any business, you try to save for the future, but if you keep on using, well, when the future comes and you come upon some tough times, you don't have that ability to reach into that money there. You find yourself making some difficult choices, and you see whether it's a business or a government, you see when it comes down to it, making cuts, making layoffs and things like that. So I think that kind of information needs to be, put to the people to remind them, because they are the people that have the power to take the money out.
Right.
So to kind of remind them, we can do it, but these are the consequences we may face down the road. So do we take our, do we take the issues that arise now, or do we, and as you said, you kind of, maybe just pushing that down the road to some other time when it becomes a bigger problem, because eventually, it happens, and you've seen Chris, you've been in this business for many years, you've seen the cycles, the ups and downs. There's the good years, and there's the not so good years where you're just kind of really, worrying about things, and do we have to lay off people, do we have to do this, we have to do that. And as Chris talked about, it's been great, all the home values have gone up, taxes have gone up. People don't think it's great that taxes gone up, but it helps out the town because there's more revenue coming in. But if we're spending at this level, because this amount of money's coming in, and home values go down, now this amount of money's come in, but we still spent here, we're gonna be a problem.
Right.
So that's, it's,
I'm just trying to
comes
figure
budget
out.
time, I always have, Chris and I have a conversation about budgets and where it really looks like it's.
I'm just trying to figure out a way to be more proactive, but,
I think it's just reminding
and then
people.
react, instead of being more reactive, I guess.
Like I said, I think it's reminding the people who have the ability and the power to take money out of it, because we do put money into these accounts every year. After our free cash is certified, that money goes into the other accounts. That's the money we have left over after our budgets are done. And I think it's reminding the people that, yes, instead of taking this money out for this, we should be thinking about saving for our future.
In order to get West Street or to, do things in the town.
The biggest case in point in the history of this town was when the landfill was generating all those revenues. Nobody put money aside for buildings or future needs. They spent it on operation. They spent and spent and spent. We got probably almost $20 million plus out of that landfill in revenues, and nobody put it aside for future costs.
And we sold the land, right?
No,
we can't
that was for them to bring the trash.
After a certain amount of time. Do we own that land still?
No, we never owned that
We
land.
never owned it.
Okay.
We
so
got
we
revenue
just-
from the tipping fees.
Yes, for when anybody dumped trash in there, we got money.
But it was always,
Other towns.
And what they did is they spent it on operations instead of putting the money aside for buildings, for a new high school, for a new elementary school, for a new town hall, for a new highway facility. They never even considered that. They were just busy spending it because it was free money to them. Not realizing at some point that landfill was gonna fill up, that revenue stream was gonna disappear. And guess what, folks? You had to start cutting. And people are still feeling the ripple effects of that, even to this day.
Well, you're gonna continue to feel it because, like you said, for so many years, you had that additional funding money coming in, and it's not there.
Yeah, you had $2 million coming in from the landfill on an annual basis.
Do you guys think that having a long-range financial committee of some sort will show collaboration between the departments and like get more people or taxpayers on board once the plan's been made? Or do you know what I'm saying? Like if you have more people invested in it and they know it's not just coming from the select board, it's not just coming from the finance committee. It was a joint effort of a bunch of committees that came together to come up with this plan.
I think long-range
To help our
planning is
town.
always
Our
good,
town.
but
Yeah.
like we've just been talking about, somebody's gonna want to know, we need this, can we take it out of the stabilization fund? And then it goes from one fund to the next one, next thing, all three are dry.
I understand what you're saying, Crystal, as far as, if something came up and you had this committee made up of different members from different
Each board,
groups,
type of
each
thing.
board or committee, to say their part. But in a roundabout way, that kind of happens. A lot of things come up, because the finance committee will give their thoughts on something, the school committee will give their thoughts, we give our thoughts on things, and we've seen at several meetings where, a board or a committee just didn't agree. So, it doesn't matter if I sit on a board and it with a few other people, Rick may not agree with what I'm saying. And so, so that's the hard part, I think, with that. I agree, and I think that's why I think a lot of the information that you're bringing up is important. I think for the taxpayers and the voters to be reminded of that, that these are things we need to really start planning for our future. When we would, to talk about, the landfill from years ago and the benefit of having that funding source for many, many, many years. And I think we were fortunate too, I think.
We got the highway department, we got the public safety.
Right, well, for the actual contractor, you might say, deal that was made many, many years ago was a great thing that the town was able to get into and obtain those funds. So, some people will argue with you that, well, we were able to do X, Y, and Z during that time, but again, we need to start planning for the future. And I've brought this up many times where we've lost many homes, which was additional tax revenue to the town when a lot of the houses were bought up by Westover. And they're taking off our tax roll. If you look at how many houses came off our tax roll at that particular time, and slowly but surely, there's more and more houses being built in Granby. And it's gonna take a lot of time to get back. So just think about just the amount of money that the town lost in that particular time frame was probably, 3 to 5 years. That just was gone. We weren't taking it anymore. If you had someone, give you an example, if you had, they had 75 homes, and the average, at the time, say the average taxes were $3,000 a year, and they're all gone. That's revenue that's not coming in anymore. So, and it takes time to recuperate that revenue. And like I said, thankfully, I think I see a lot of construction and building going on in town, which to me is a good thing, because people want to move to Granby and they're building homes. But also, I see a lot of houses up for sale too, so, but as people move on in life, they move out and people stay, so. But like I said, I know sometime that a lot of money came off our tax roll. That definitely took an impact on us, but like I said, to me, that is information that needs to be reminded to the taxpayers and the voters that these are things that come up, so think about it, the consequences when we take money out. And I know they do. I remember, when at one of the town meetings, when the school asked to take money out of the stabilization fund, you had people speaking up for it and people speaking up against it, as, these are some of the things that this is going to hurt us in the long run. We need the money for the future. But then other people say, well, we need it for this because we want to fund the schools. We want to have A, B, and C for our children. So that's the type of town government we have. So, I don't know if that's an easy answer to that.
And I know the budget process is just gonna start beginning, and this is my first time being a part of it, so, yeah. I don't know, I just thought the 5-year long-term planning committee was, in an ideal world, a good idea.
But
It is a good idea.
It
is a good
idea.
idea.
But, you know, I think with something like that, I think even for us, and I think, you know, when we had the concerned citizens of West Street School come in this evening, it's a good thing to remind the select board, you know, we have the ability to keep things on the forefront, because we have a lot of different options from our board to do things. So I think some things that come up should be reminding us to move forward with it. And, you know, whether it's myself or Rick or yourself or even different people that come aboard, hopefully that same message can be carried throughout, you know, year to year, board to board. But as, you know, as Chris mentioned, you may have someone that does not agree with it, but, you know, if you have the 2 other board members that may still say, well, that's what we're looking to do, and you talk about it enough, maybe it makes the other person think about it and to go with you, or, you know, or just, you have the other 2 votes. It's difficult, because that's just, when it comes up to a 3-person board, it's, you know, people have different thoughts, different views, and, you know, they feel that's why, you know, someone voted for them and put them in office for that reason, to speak for the people. So, and hopefully that's what people are doing. They're believing that they're speaking for the people when they're making their decisions.
Yeah.
And I believe every year at the town meeting, the finance committee gets up and says something like that. It's pretty much every year. Ms. Woodbury gets up.
I guess my point that I was trying to make, though, is it's the finance committee saying, it's not the joint committee or a joint committee that's saying it. That said, you know, we talked about it, we went back and forth on the budget and stuff like that. It's just one committee, and I'm not saying it's just one committee, like they say it doesn't matter, but I just feel like it would carry more weight if you have more committees involved in the process. And hopefully they would come to an agreement before it even gets to town floor. I mean, that's what they talked about at the new select board meeting. With this particular town, they hash everything out before they even bring it in front of the people. But again, that's, I guess, an ideal world where everyone agrees
But that
on
goes,
the outcome.
right, and that goes to Chris's point you made earlier, when we had the committee come together with, it was a small committee, myself, Chris, and some of the school committee members kind of sat down and thought about things and spoke, so I had the ability to speak for the select board. Chris was speaking for the town as far as the finance, and we had some people from obviously the superintendent and their business manager.
There's a finance committee member on there,
A
too.
finance committee member there as well, so, and like, kind of like you just said, Chris, they kind of hashed it out before it went to the town, so everybody was in agreement that it was fiscally responsible, that the budget that thought was being brought forward.
Right.
And a lot of people had some input and stuff like that, as where they thought, you know, what we should be looking at, and that Chris made some great points, and some of the people from the school committee, and, you know, as well, and I think that's why we got to where we got to, and I think that was the whole thing, and that was the whole thing, saying, move forward, because it's something we can do, and I think that's why we have, right now, the liaison for the school committee from this board, too. I would imagine come budget time, we'll go through the same thing as we did last time with the school committee. I think it worked well. I think we'll probably do the same thing. A lot of the other, departments are solely responsible, whether it's the fire department, police department, or the highway department. We're pretty much one person speaking for that budget.
So when you guys get together, I know we've got a lot to talk about, but when you guys get together in that committee, you're just talking about the operating budget for that fiscal year. You're not talking about the long term of what needs to get done in the town for capital improvements, or you guys do talk about that too?
No, that came up because some of the questions were as far as, like, you know, talking about a new high school. Well, how's this going to impact moving forward? And some of the things that for the future is what they needed this year versus something that can wait for a couple of years.
Right.
Like you said, for the future. So if we don't have to do it now, put that off for the future, you know?
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anything else?
No, that's kind of what I mostly focused on, was just taking it all in and learning as I go, because there was a lot at that conference, but it was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
Very
I'm not
supportive.
opposed to it. I mean, if you want to, try it, we can try it. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, it's an option, we can put it forward and see what happens. There's nothing wrong with that either. So if that's something, I mean, I'm willing to, look at it and say, okay, let's give it a try. Doesn't hurt to try something at all. So if you think that would be, something that you think
And I don't
would
want,
be good.
yeah, and I think the long-range committee shouldn't just look at that year. I think they should look at a 5-year plan. Like, where do you want your department to be in 5 years? What do you see as capital improvements? What do you see? Just so that the town can make, or I guess the taxpayers and us can make a informed decision when we use money from the stabilization fund for operating budget or something like that,
Yeah.
that, okay, know that you're forfeiting this on our plan.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so now you took that money away and now we have no money for this. Just know what you're giving up in return, I guess, is kind of what I was thinking.
No, I agree. So we can look at that, maybe our next meeting, kind of talk about how we form the committee and who we would want on the committee versus from each area, and then reach out to each committee and ask for a representative. Maybe go from there. We'll see how it works. Why not?
Department heads and all that other stuff, yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't hurt.
No. All right. Well, with that said, we don't have anything else on our agenda, except moving into our executive session. The Mass General Law, Chapter 30-A-21-A2 is to discuss contracts. So at this time, I'll ask for roll call votes. We can move into executive session, and we'll only adjourn to come out of regular session at that time. So roll call vote, Sexton, aye?
Crystal Dufresne, aye.
Roll your eye.
All right, there we go.